Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. The meeting will be starting shortly. While we wait, let's learn more about Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
This is Jay Myers, Chair of the Heritage Commission. Today's Thursday.
Wednesday.
Wednesday, thank you, Pam. This is Wednesday, April 19th. And I'll let the others who are present introduce themselves.
Pam Judham?
Treasurer or Secretary.
Yeah.
John Merkel, Vice Chair.
Okay.
And then
Julie?
Gilman, Board Rep.
Okay.
joining us remotely from Zoom. Good to see you, Julie.
Yes, I have to say that it is impractical for me to be there in person, and there is one other person in the room.
Thank you, Julie. All right, let's turn ourselves to the agenda for the evening. In review, or do we may need to take a few minutes to do some review of the minutes from March 15th? I know I have just another page or two to read over, but if others have any comment or proposed changes, you can bring those forward at this time.
Well, I can't comment because I wasn't there, but I am really impressed with Liz doing this just from the tape of the last meeting. This is very impressive.
Well, there's not enough members present to actually have a quorum to vote on that if Pam wasn't there, so.
That's a good point. Thank you, Julie. Could we add anything? Well, I guess we can't add anything to them if we needed to, or make some changes?
Nope.
No. Okay.
So we have to take them up next meeting.
So yeah, I guess these could be taken up next meeting. So yeah.
In which case we won't have a forum.
Yeah. Later on the agenda, we'll be discussing what that might look like. But yeah, I echo Pam's comment on that, Liz. Those minutes they look pretty good to me at this point. I'd like to hear from our Demolition Review Committee. I know John and Julie, I think you were able to,
Yep.
and Pam.
Yep.
Oh, that's outstanding. We're able to visit the 170 Epping Road property.
We were. And it's a lovely little house. It's not really historic because it was built 1950s sometime, but
70s, I think.
so, well, they bought the property in the 50s and they put the house on later. But it used to be very lovely back there in the woods, but now you step out the front door and you are right in the construction zone of the new, whatever they call that, right on the corner of Epping Road. So obviously nobody could possibly live there. So.
The house.
That's not the point, but the character defining features that we're looking for, there really weren't any. I mean, it's of its period, but you could question whether that period has defining features anyway.
It's a standalone building. There isn't another house within sight of it.
Yeah.
There was no house within sight of it.
No.
But there,
Yeah, it wasn't much in sight because there were plenty of trees around it.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the woman who lived there was telling me how sad they were because it was so lovely, and they would just sit out on the back porch and watch all the birds and animals, and but oh dear.
I sent 4 photographs.
I don't know if you're
I sent a letter of approval and photographs to the building inspector last week.
All right. Yeah, thank you for making the time to visit the property and draft your observation and opinion and making a photo record of that. Much appreciated. I hadn't been on that stretch of road for a while, and I didn't realize that all those trees had been taken down.
I didn't either.
Until I'd driven by after getting that notice, and I was surprised how quickly that happened. Yeah. So, and it is unfortunately the only house in that area, and almost no stopping it. But thank you for that for that work and time. Next on our agenda is to hear from others who are here by way of other committees. John was unable to attend to give us an update of the Planning Commission. Pam, any updates from the Historic District?
No, we didn't meet last month, so.
Okay.
No, nothing has happened.
Okay, that was the word last month too.
Yes.
Julie, anything from the Select Board that the HC could benefit from?
Not from the select board, but I do want to say that the Office of Planning and Development is holding their spring conference on the 29th. It's, I believe, free to members of the committee, and I am on a panel to discuss preservation topics, I guess is what they're titling it. And getting volunteers. The other one, explain to people about the quality or value of fixing your windows as opposed to replacing them, and different things like that. There's 3 of us from across the state that are coordinating this review. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope that other members that have been invited will attend.
Julie, you said that was on 4/29.
Right.
At what time?
It's all day, but there are different tracks. The preservation track, I think, begins at 3.
And I'm certain I saw the email in my inbox, but could you remind me where that's located, or if there's...
It's all Zoom.
It's all Zoom. Okay, that was my follow-up. Okay. All right, thank you for that.
I'm putting together a PowerPoint and talk about any concerns that the Heritage Commission has with support, finding volunteers, education. What are people doing? I'm hoping to hear some success stories from other towns. But what I understand from the Division of Historical Resources is that it's a common problem amongst all the 200 plus towns to find members volunteer for both commissions, both the HDC and the Heritage Commission.
Yeah.
So, making a plea out there, we'll teach you whatever you need to know. Well, thank you.
That sounds great. Next on the item list is really some conversation about the future direction of the Heritage Commission. I received today a resignation letter from Maura. I don't know if she really needed to or not, because I think her term ended, but I'll share that with you. She didn't get it to be copied in time. But this ends my term. And I don't know if I need to officially resign, but I'm not intending to continue. And I've stated that before. So that doesn't leave many available for the election of new officers, which would naturally take place at this time.
No, that would actually take place next month, because your term is ending now, and there's still time between now and the end of the month that we might have a meeting. So you're still chair until the end of the month.
That makes sense.
And I would like to emphasize that Pam and I and John Gruder are members because we are associated with other boards, and that leaves John Merkel and Bill Campbell as the only volunteers on this 7-member commission. So kind of one of the questions I'm wondering, and this can't happen until next year, is whether, please think about whether or not the Heritage Commission and the HDC should combine, which is a possibility. It's done in some communities, but we would have to vote on it in next March.
Yeah, thank you for that clarity. Julie, I wasn't sure how the process went as far as new officers or the timing of that, but you're accurate in that John Merkel and Bill Campbell are really the only 2 remaining who could possibly take a position. So the public service announcement plug for those that are listening or are going to watch this later. Great opportunity to join a wonderful committee to do some good work in the town. And then whether or not this gets merged with the historic district is a conversation for another day.
Well, if you're going to merge, it's a very logical place to do it.
It does make sense.
My only concern is that the flexibility of the members of the HDC right now are not so convenient for demolition review matters, but that's something we can find out in further discussion. The HDC is meeting this month, so that's a conversation to have with them next month.
Yeah.
Is there any further discussion or something that can make the record?
How would that have to happen, Julie?
We established both the HDC and the Heritage Commission by votes by a town meeting, and so to either dissolve the Heritage Commission or combine it with the HDC would be ballot question, and then they would just be a group of people that do function. So it would be regulatory. It would also be teaching and doing the surveys and things that the Heritage Commission does. I don't know of any town that has done that, so we certainly have to learn from maybe the Division of Historical Resources about how to go about that and what the how to deal with it. Demolition reviews happen more frequently than the HDC sees them, because we're a town-wide body as far as preservation or documentation of the town, whereas the HDC is involved in the historic districts themselves. So there's something to be learned before we make a decision.
Well, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I think we need some more information before we make any kind of decision. Tonight is not the night to say yes or no.
Yeah, I agree. I just didn't know if we needed to put anything on record for next month in terms of a discussion or...
Well, unless we come up, or some more volunteers just spring up through the floor, I don't see what we can do except merge, or else just disband, and I'd hate to do that.
Well, those are the two options to disband it. Again, it would have to be a ballot question. There is members of the Heritage Commission would be acting as a regulatory body if we combine with the HDC. It wouldn't be like a combined meeting. It would just be the Historic District Commission meeting or a heritage subcommittee, I guess, of the Historic District.
Yeah, my mind goes back to the RSA that gives sort of the outline and mission of what the Heritage Commission does, and what happens to that. It just goes silent until there's enough people to fulfill that mission.
Well, the Heritage Commission's purpose is to educate, preserve in a fashion. We have a fund that can go towards the preservation of a building or a piece of property, or to manage some public property that we have. The Historic District Commission does not have that functionality. So that's an aspect that we will have to learn about. How do we have to unestablished the fund and donate the funding that we do have in there, which I think is a little over $5,000, dispersed elsewhere. I really need to speak to somebody, or we really need to speak to somebody from the Division of Historical Resources, which has put up this, put together both of the purposes for these two commissions. So.
All right, thank you for that, Julie. All right, let's turn our attention to some business that carries over from our last meeting, which was the discussion related to the CLG grant, and I think Julie had some updates perhaps related to that.
Yes, I put in a letter of intent to the Division of Historical Resources for the survey area that we had talked about. When we were discussing it, we sort of crossed from Court Street to the Court Street, Pine Street, Front Street area, and then we were also interested in the Front Street across the railroad tracks towards the southwest. And the response that I got, in a conversation was that we need to find a smaller area because the projects are so numerous this year that it's much more competitive than it had been in previous years. But they did respond that we were welcome to put in the actual application. But they recommended that we speak to a preservation planner to really define the smaller area that we want to do. And then that will change the amount of money I asked for. I just put down a random $25,000 because that's what we did for the Park Street area. But what we're looking at now is a much smaller area, so it's not going to be that much. And that's what the DHR is looking for, either a smaller area or take 2 years to do it. I'd rather do a smaller area myself, but.
Okay.
So in terms of a smaller area, does anything need to be discussed or decided on tonight about that vision of a smaller area?
Can we, the three of us, or the 3.5 of us, decide anything tonight on that?
Yeah, well, I would really like to get an estimate from a preservation planner. We have one that we've used often, and we only have to get one quote from somebody. So if you don't mind, I'd like to use the preservation company who has done the surveys for us in the past to, get together to look at a map and say, this is priority, this is not a priority. So we can shrink whichever. I guess what I want to know is which side of the tracks are we more interested in? Around the mill, or the shoe factory, or Pine Street and to the east.
Is the preservation company still active? I believe Lynn Monroe retired.
She retired from the company, but she's still very active in historical. I mean, she just went on the Heritage Committee in Kensington.
Did we lose Julie?
I think we lost Julie. Oh, well.
It sounded like her feed was breaking up a little bit, too.
Yes.
Give her a moment to come back on.
Well, while she's thinking, do the three of us have a place in town that we particularly like or care for?
I mean, I'm mixed when it comes to those areas. I feel like the Pine, Elliott, Grove Street is a good area, and I would probably find.
I like that one because it touches the Front Street district.
Yeah.
I like that too, and think it would actually have more.
Look here, she just dropped out of the.
Yeah, that's right.
On
Okay.
On a
But the Pine Elliott area has more history in it than the mill area. I mean, let's be honest, it's mill housing and the mill workers lived there. And that is not to say it's worthless, but you'd get a lot more out of Pine and Elliott.
Yeah, that,
And somebody mentioned Lincoln Street. Now, Lincoln Street comes up again and again. And that would be,
yeah, because there's the Lincoln and what the two streets beside it.
yeah.
Union and,
Yeah, Union.
yeah, there's a little neighborhood in there.
Yeah.
Yes, and I live there now on Tremont Street. So,
Oh, you were there now?
well, I'm temporarily there while they're fixing the place on South Street. But it's a very nice little neighborhood
Yeah.
that I didn't even know was there, frankly. So, but there is a whole neighborhood right down there in back of RJ's. So, there it is.
The one thing that I think about when it comes to that Lincoln Street corridor is that it's changing.
Oh, yes. That's why we maybe want to get a picture before it totally changes.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
So I think that's where I'm kind of torn. I think the Pine Elliott Grove is a nice
Yes.
choice, and it's not necessarily changing. It's going to look that way for quite some time. The Academy,
hope.
We hope. Yeah, the Academy has quite an influence in that neighborhood, and owns a good deal of those properties. Although there's a lot of editing going on in some of those houses as well. But the houses have pretty much remained the same, and the neighborhood is relatively intact. Whereas that Lincoln Street area could change.
Well, I'd be receptive to looking into that.
Yeah, that area.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess, I mean, without Julie here to add to that discussion, we just have
Okay. Well,
the
she's
record.
going to find out how much things cost and who would make it. So,
Yeah.
So that would be,
Yeah.
maybe she can give us some specific numbers next month.
But yeah, unfortunately, I think she wanted to move forward with something tonight, before moving into the next meeting.
Well, she knows how to reach us.
I mean, do we weigh in on that, given where, with just the three of us, or we just leave it as a record in the minutes?
I think we have to rely on the minutes with this one.
Yeah, yeah. It's not like we can vote on
No.
a decision here.
Okay.
So, is there anything not on the agenda that we need to discuss?
No, we need to come up with a solution for the fact that we're not going to have 7 board members anymore.
Well, I did make a plea at the last Historical Society meeting, and we're having another one in May, and that's the big one, and I can make another plea. I don't know what good that will do, but
What does the role look like with the HDC? I understand that you're rather thin on membership as well.
we are.
Yeah.
We are very thin. Oh, dear. Oh, that's too bad, and frankly, it's the same on all the boards.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, nobody in their right mind would want to be on planning or zoning, I mean. So, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
Well, I think what I will do, I will put together the meeting for next month. And we'll have to make some decisions without you and more.
And thank you for your service. I mean,
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
Appreciate that. Thank you for educating me along this way. So,
The town's got all our records
Yes.
over the past 2 years.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, so we're okay.
And we had mentioned in passing the Perkins Hill Cemetery, as is sort of irrelevant, but I'm taking the Key Club on a work day on Saturday. We're going to be cleaning up the cemetery. I mean, we're starting to, that is a huge job, but at least I've got a bunch of teenagers all set to go, and I hope we won't get rained out.
that's great.
They loved doing the Gas House Cemetery, so they hope they like this one.
Yeah, that's great news.
And the Historical Society is planning to do a remap of the tiny cemeteries. They did one about 20 years ago, and so.
That's good to know.
So, that's it.
All right.
Okay.
End this meeting?
Yeah.
Well, very good.
Do we need an official adjournment? Call for,
I think we do. For all the people who are listening out there, I don't know,
is there,
both of them,
yeah, is there a motion to adjourn this
move
time?
to adjourn.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.